What dream have you been carrying on your heart, and what might happen if you finally gave yourself permission to pursue it? Welcome back to Her Purpose, where we explore the raw, real, and powerful stories of women who are creating lives and businesses rooted in their purpose. In today's episode, I am joined by Andrea McPherson, the founder of the American-made clothing brand Sayor. Her journey is one of bold pivots, deep personal growth, and the power of trusting your gut, even when it means walking away from something that once felt right. From working in corporate fashion to launching a brand inspired by freedom and beauty, Andrea shares the behind the scenes of building something from scratch, navigating identity shifts, and pursuing purpose over comfort. Let's dive in. Okay, so your clothing brand is called Sayor. Tell
Mhm.
me first a little bit about how did that name come about?
So it is when I started the brand, I wanted the name to not be something related to anything else. I wanted it just to be a word that had its own meaning. It came from the Scottish Gaelic word for free, which is spelled Saor. It's pronounced like seer. I don't have the twang for that, but because my heritage comes from is Scottish, so I loved that it was a word that meant free. So I added the e and I Americanized how you pronounce it to change it
How
up.
how many generations back were you?
Only a couple. I think it's my grandparents that came over from there. It's a mix of things, but that's where my last name is from. Is from Scottish
I
heritage.
see.
So
Oh, okay. So talk to me a little bit about the clothing brand and what it represents for you.
it was something that I had always wanted to do. I have a background in fashion design and 15 plus years of doing this. So I know that even when I went to college for it, wanting to do it on my own was something that was always in the back of my head, but I never knew how. I never thought I had the guts to do it on my own. Um, so it was something that I think ultimately it was like, if other people are doing this now, why can't I? So that was kind of what started the thought process of, okay, let's really think about how we can start this business now. I never really had a more meaning to do out of a clothing brand. It's what I went to school for. It's what I've always loved doing. How do I do something that actually has like a meaning behind it? So when I thought about it, the American made aspect of it was kind of a bigger deal because I really didn't think it was being done that much. And when I worked in the industry, everything was always done overseas. So is it even possible for me to do something American made? So there was a lot of research in the beginning to like, is this something that is even physically possible to do right now? Um, and I think once I started looking into it, everything kind of just fell into place and it just nothing has ever felt so, I don't want to say it felt easy because it's not easy, but it just the all the challenges that I've faced from starting it, everything that's gone on the last 2 years, overcoming everything, it really just made everything, looking back on like the start of it, really shows me like this is really how it was supposed to go. So that's essentially where it came from. And it's something that aesthetically I've always gravitated towards brands that are made in Bali or Australia, and they're not made here. So I wanted to see if there was a way for me to make that kind of flowy, drapey, beachy wear here instead of the typical like you see like cowboy jeans and workwear, and that's kind of a lot of the stuff that you normally see here. So it worked out, and that's how Sayora was born, essentially.
I hope when I order, I look like you in your clothing.
Oh, stop.
So, okay, I know that you're really passionate about American made. Where does that come from?
I don't know. It kind of ebbed and flowed in my life a little bit. When I was growing up, we had, my family has a tool and die manufacturing company in Michigan. And my dad essentially had to take it over when he was 32, I think. My grandfather passed away when I was really young. He owned it at the time. So he got thrusted into taking this over and he grew it, and it's a very successful business. So it's one of those things where everything is just done in-house. It's a bunch of machines and you're grinding steel. And he was always very much, don't go to China. Everything needs to be American made, just always growing up. And I remember when I went to college for fashion design, I was very adamant in telling him, that's not how it's done, Dad. I mean, fashion is pretty much done in China now, so that's okay. Um, and I think it took a while for me to realize I'd gone over there for work a few times, and I never really liked what I was seeing,
Really?
the way that things were being done. It's hard to trust what you're not around all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even if somebody tells you something is being done in a ethical way, you they're not being honest with you all the time. So um, it really kind of changed my mind about the
What
whole
did
like it's
so what did you see?
when workers are walking around barefoot without shirts on, it's just weird to me.
Mhm.
And it's a lot of times some of these places have the way that their lives are just different than what we're used to. A lot of it is okay to them. And it's just so being able to gauge like this is normal and this isn't is also something that I struggled with. The people that work in these factories essentially live there. They're housed there. It's like dormitories for them to stay there. And that's kind of why Chinese New Year exists, because that's the one time of the year that they get to go home to their families across the country somewhere, and then they go back to work at the factories for the remaining of the time. Um, and they're totally fine with it sometimes. It's just what they're used to. It's their way of life. And they have long hours. I mean, when I would be there, I'd be working long hours with people just because we're trying to get so much accomplished in the week that I'm there. But the factories are going the whole time, and it just didn't. It was hard to tell if they were happy or not, and I just didn't. It didn't sit well with me. So that was part of why I'm like, I don't like the fact that even if I find some place that says that they're doing things right, you just don't know, and it's too hard to keep track of.
Mm.
When everything is made here, it's a lot easier for me, especially because right now I have everything made pretty close to where I live. I can actually go and see how things are going, and it just makes me feel a little more comfortable in that sense, in that respect.
Hmm. So going to school for fashion design, obviously you loved fashion prior to even then. At what age growing up did you fall in love with fashion?
Oh man, I think it was probably, my mom's gonna hate me saying this. I think I was watching too many of her soap operas with her, because one of them was all around this fashion house, and I think that's probably where it came from. She was a big sewer. Her mom was a big sewer growing up, and I remember home ec. We actually had home ec class back then in like junior high, I think. So it was always in the back of my mind of like something I enjoyed doing. Um, and it's just interesting, like when you think going to school for something like that at the time, I'm going to date myself. It was almost 20 years ago now. Um, they were a little bit hesitant thinking, why would you go to school for fashion design? That doesn't seem like something you'd have to go to college for. Um, but it was, it was the only thing that I ever wanted to do. So
Hmm.
I think at this point my parents are much more proud of me, and they see that I was serious about it now. So,
So
um,
you worked in fashion design for how long before you launched your own business?
I had been in New York for maybe 4 years working. I've worked for a few different places, bigger corporations, like the big companies that own a bunch of like fashion houses, like Phillips Van Heusen, which owns Tommy Hilfiger and Calvin Klein and all these big places. I moved to Texas about a decade ago when I was working for a Western wear company that designs jeans. Um, so it had been 15 plus years. And the whole time it's always like, what would I do differently if I was doing this on my own? That was always going through my head. And none of what I ever designed was ever aesthetic that I loved. Like, I'm not the kind of person that's going to wear cowboy jeans. So uh, when I did finally start this, everyone was like, well, that totally makes sense. That's exactly what you would be wearing.
Mm.
So it was a lot of just like the way that the corporate world works is just, I didn't want to be the person that was moving up anymore in the industries with Like I could have been a VP of design and some head honcho in some place in New York. And I think it just wasn't something that I felt completely compelled to do because I really just wanted to be able to do things on my own. And you learn throughout the process of like climbing the corporate ladder that when your job changes, you don't get to do the things that you set out to do anymore. You have to manage the people that do it. I don't want to do that. So if I have my own company, I can hire people around me and I can stick with what I want to do all the time. Getting there is a process, right? I'm not there yet. There's things that I have to do at this point that I don't want to do, but the long game just makes more sense to me to do it this way.
So how long working for someone else did you spend before you took that step? Like what was the first experience outside of working for corporate that exposed you to entrepreneurship besides your dad?
When I moved to Texas, I had started a network marketing business with a friend. And so I got a little bit of understanding of just like what personal development looks like and how, because they kind of thrust you into that, right? In that world, you really get to learn about how to be around people better. It made me it got me out of my comfort zone a lot more. It was a fun thing for me to do on the side for a little while. And I think I actually still have this conversation with a girlfriend when this brand started on my phone. I I finally allowed myself to sit down and say, I'm not sure this is I don't think that this is going how I want it to go. I'm I don't want to keep pushing off what I want to truly do and till I get to a certain point with this and then start the clothing brand. I was like, here are the things that I don't like when it comes to what we're doing. I didn't like that I didn't know when things were going to be on sale. I didn't like that I didn't have control over the product or what was launching when it was going to launch, and we weren't told what was going to happen. And I wanted control. I want to know what's going on. I want to be able to have that in my hands. And it was kind of that conversation that started the train of like, okay, since this isn't what you want to do, what happens if you just F the plan and you do the clothing brand, go to your end game now. Is that even something you want to do? Is that something you can do? So I was like, how would that look? What would I do? And it took 48 hours and literally the whole thing was in my head already. So it was such a fast, when I finally allowed myself to think about it, the thought was like floodgates had opened up. And I've been spinning on just, do I want to do it this way for 15 years? And I finally allowed myself to go there and it just came out. And ever since then, it feels like this freight train that's kind of pulling me along. And I'm not actually the one that's pulling the business. It's got me moving. So,
Yeah, so running your business, when you were running your network marketing business, did it feel like you're pushing a boulder up a hill?
always, always. I think it was just, and it's one of those things where it is a great experience to go through. I think that if you ever want to do something that's going to get you out of your comfort zone, that's a really great thing to do. One thing, I think business changes so fast, and the way that things go, like with AI starting now, like there's so many things that you need to be able to keep up with. And when you don't have control of how the business model is running, you're handcuffed a little bit. So you don't have the ability to pivot the way that you need to, just based on social media changing how it works. And when I started that business, that was probably almost 10 years ago now. And social media was kind of just taking off. So growing it then was way different than it is now. And it just doesn't feel to me like it's something that I don't want to talk too bad about it, because I really do think it's a great thing to start with. But in the long run, I had to kind of retrain myself that when something isn't going how you want it to, it's okay to pivot. You have the ability to pivot now, Andrea. You can figure it out. It's not this style isn't working, then do something different.
What made that thought of I can allow myself to pivot? Was there a moment, an experience, a conversation
A lot of crying.
over the way
I
things were
think
going?
I think like when I was in the development phase of this and trying to get manufacturers and trying to get fabrics and all the styling and the fits and everything done, it there were so many things that I thought were gonna just everything was just gonna go the way that it was supposed to, and it doesn't. And it's like those are the moments where you want to quit. And I'm like, okay, the old Andrea 15 years ago going through this would have quit. This is the moment that I would have quit because it's not going the way it's supposed to. So then I guess it's not going to work. Mm. But you get creative in those moments and you understand, like, if it doesn't go this way, you have 287 other ways that you can figure this out. And no one else is going to know but you in the long run. Like when I launched, it does not look like I wanted it to, but nobody knows that but me. Mm-hmm. So, and we're still standing. And I think when you're doing something under another business, you don't have the luxury of being able to pivot. You have to do it the way that they're saying. You have to keep doing the same things over and over and over again. And even if it's not working, you can't do, that's just the way that you're told to do things. So, mm-hmm. The untraining of that and learning that business is just it's a game. Mm-hmm. You're playing a game and you have to figure out what the moves are. And it's not going to be exactly what you think you're supposed to be doing. It's always going to be something different. And the more you go through that, the more you realize, like, oh, this is just another pivot point. Okay, what else can I be doing right now? And I've learned throughout that process of just to pivot really fast, which is another skill I think is beneficial when you're building something that is actually truly your business.
What was happening in your network marketing business that you felt that you didn't have control over?
Part of what I felt was hard for me was everyone is still kind of doing their own thing. It's like a big team, right? But then everyone is still focused on their own business. So there's not one true focus of what everyone is not focused on the same results. They're all focused on their own results. And where I was within the business, it just felt like I was getting lost in it. And I was more focused on everyone else's results than I was my own. And at some point, it kind of just made me feel like I was just kind of there and it wasn't fulfilling anymore. Like I wasn't actually growing anything that I was happy about. So that was one thing. And the way that the business model to me is just, it doesn't feel right anymore. Personally, I just don't feel like it's something that's going to sustain itself the way that it is going forward with the way business is done. I think it's great for people that, like, if I was going to do another one, I'd probably start my own network marketing business with my own product and grow it that way, because that's a great way to make a lot of money really fast. But from a longevity standpoint, it's just not something that was going to stick. And I want something that I can say I grew and I had control over. And when I talk about it, it's coming to me. It's not coming to, oh, well, yeah, my friend does this, so I'll just go to them. Like that was probably one thing that was a little frustrating to me too, is like, you can scream it from the rooftops that this thing is amazing, which it was, but then it's filtering through everyone else too. So to me, it was like, I want to talk about what I have in my heart, and that is really meaningful to me, and know that it is all going to be because of what I've done. So it's essentially just more control.
Well, I think it's control. Absolutely. I can so relate to that. But also the sense of purpose that is a lot deeper than the product that when you get started in a network marketing company, originally, I don't believe most people find the product that is their true calling. It's something that made a difference in their life. It made a difference in their day. And they started sharing it because it made a difference. But at some point, there's a moment where you look inward and you realize this isn't my true calling. I'm not using my gifts the way I'm really, your love for fashion. You had this dream for so long, But so there's a big difference in facing those hard times when it's something that you just feel deeply rooted in versus something that grew maybe even beyond your wildest dreams, but it's still not what your purpose is connected to. But what were some of the skills that you learned from your network marketing experience that did serve you launching your own business?
The introvert in me definitely had a great time going away when I was doing that. I I still have a hard time, I think, talking to people, which is so funny it's always this like circle of like it's like a muscle I have to keep building, right? I just have to keep talking to people because otherwise I'll cocoon back into this hole. But that was definitely something that was more consistent when I was building that was my ability to talk to people was a lot stronger than it is right now even. Um, but it's like you said, when you're trying to talk about something that you do think is a great thing, but it's not, there is no ownership in it. You you believe in it to a certain degree. But to me, like now that I'm in this and I'm living and breathing it every day, the and there's a big mission behind it that I truly care about. I think it's just a whole different level of like, I would rather if somebody says that they don't like a swimsuit that I created, like, okay, it's not for everyone, but I do know that there are people that are going to love it. And majority of the time that's the response that I get. So I think one thing that I was very lucky with when it came to that was the group of girls that I was working around. They were very nice and sweet girls. And there was not a lot of like the drama stuff that sometimes you see happens and all of that. We were very lucky that we had, at least to my knowledge, it was never the situation that was like blow up like dramatic cattiness. So it taught me that women actually can be normal, decent human beings, which was good to see because in the fashion industry in New York, not the case. It's very different out there. So your guard is up a little bit when you come out of working in New York City in the fashion industry. And this was the exact opposite of that. The team was actually really sweet, and it's nice to see that women can work together and can kind of lift each other up. No matter what's going on around them. And everyone was from different kinds of walks of life. So it gave me a new appreciation for women in business kind of a situation where even if you're doing the same thing, it's okay. You don't have to always be competitive. The competitor in me had a little bit of learning to do in that situation and to not be like that. But that was probably a really big part of that has helped me to this day.
But do you feel that that aspect of learning that is possible has complemented the business that you're running now?
I mean, yeah, I it's definitely helped me not take things so personally just because, and from a customer service perspective, like I don't want to get mad at somebody that's like, well, I don't think this is going to be a good fit. It's learning that it's turned me into a kinder person. So I think that's going to translate eventually, hopefully when I have a team, which I don't yet. It's just me in the business now. So
Solopreneur.
so yeah, but I definitely know that once I do have people that are working for me, that is going to translate a lot more of like just being able to understand different situations and different lifestyles for people. And I used to work retail. I worked retail while I was in college, and I was a really mean person. I was a bad boss. So I think that was one thing that it definitely helped me kind of pull myself back and just be able to be a little bit more of a collaborator than a competitor. So I'm hoping once I do have a team that does translate a little bit better. That and on top of all the the podcasts and the personal development books and all of that stuff that you kind of go through when you're in that and learning how to be a better person because of that.
It's interesting that we don't see that more in other areas of business and other aspects of life. In other industries, it is very prominent. I do believe that is one of my favorite parts of the industry is the personal development aspect. I'm so thankful that I was exposed to that. But it is interesting that we don't see that typically in a lot of these other industries. So you were part of that company, you said 10 years ago, and you started Sayor 2 years ago. So you left that company 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yep, I did.
That was shortly. So when you're talking about, so interesting. So I'm curious what you saw in 8 years. What aspects of the industry do you see no longer working in the future? And 2 years ago, 2023, what were some of the signs that you were seeing in your business that made you think, I don't think this is long term?
I don't want to say you have to get in the beginning of something, but like I think I feel like that kind of industry kind of goes through like cycles, right? And when I started it 10 years ago, it was very, and there weren't as many companies around. It wasn't as prominent of a thing. It was just kind of getting off the ground. I feel like, again, I think Mary Kay's been around for what, like 50 plus years or something. There's pink Cadillacs all over the place still. I actually see them because I'm in Dallas, so I see those all the time.
Right.
Right. And this one had started back in like 2010 maybe. So it was like it wasn't something that was wasn't I wasn't the person that was seeing other people talk about their businesses this way. I just don't think it's going to be sustainable for very, very much longer. The way
What
that the business model is done.
what aspect of the business model?
It's There's so many companies that have tried to do this now, and I think because of the way things have gone over the last 10 years, people have a lot of more like the stereotypical understanding of how things are done. People can be predatory about it, that kind of thing. And it's even if your heart is in it the right way, I just feel like it's kind of worked through this cycle this time where everybody in this generation now understands how the business works. The people that are in it are going to be in it. The people that are not are either have done it like we have or don't have any intentions of being involved in it. You're not really going to find people that are going to want to join and do it alongside of you, no matter what the product at this point is. And a lot of this stuff too is just when you when you see all the same brands being made in the same factories with clothing, you kind of have to think that supplement companies, everything is made in the same place too, right? So you can't skincare is all made from the same ingredients from the same factories, and things are a little tweaked maybe a little bit, but um, nothing is going to be this like bright and shiny thing that's going to all of a sudden like take off at this point. It's so easy for an individual person now to create a brand that trying to build something off of somebody else is not something that's going to get you into a good financial situation anymore. If you've done it already and you have that team that's going to be there for you, that's great. But from starting from scratch, I just don't think that and you're selling something that you didn't build. So
Yeah, how
I
is that
guess
different? How is that different for you?
it's just, there's just no, there's nothing emotional attached to it. Like, I love the fact that I love seeing people now when they're talking about the brand or they're excited about Sayor. It's because it's my baby. Like, it came from my head. I birthed it from nothing, which to me is still crazy that people can do that. Like, you can just create something out of thin air and everyone's supposed to believe you. And like the whole thing is made up. It's just made up. But I love that it came from my own brain. And that just means the world to me more than anything else ever would. I would never want to do something under someone else again.
Going back to 10 years ago, we both started in our companies. It sounds like really close to the same timeline. So I had been a part of my company for 11 years and still part of my company, but I have seen a lot of shifts and it's very interesting. And one of the things that I think has played a huge part is, like you were alluding to this, is that now not only can anyone create a brand because of social media, But there are so many ways for people to create income online that are not connected to the business model. Whereas 10 years ago, we didn't know about affiliate marketing. We didn't know about drop shipping. We didn't know about selling on Amazon. We didn't know about now there's so many different ways. You can create digital products. You can launch a coaching business. You can do consulting. There's so many ways that you can have control over your income. You can create a side income. And that has become a lot more front and center. So for the people that are looking for other ways to make money from home, there's an array of options that back then, 10 years ago, it seemed that it was get a job or do network marketing, right?
Mhm.
Did you experience that?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's one thing that with even just with like the way that social media has changed in the last 10 years, the people that were influencers in the beginning are people that have their own brands now. They have millions of followers. They started from the beginning and they're at that point, and you're seeing influencers just it's just okay, I want to start a sweatshirt line and it's done. So it's from that perspective, it's a lot different because you have access that we never had before to be able to kind of just do whatever you want. And the funny thing is, now with all these other apps and AI and all these things that from a tech standpoint are coming out, you have access to even like for the fashion industry, there's platforms that people are creating now of just manufacturers for clothing. So these people can go to this platform and pay money just to have access to manufacturers because there's demand for it.
Mm-hmm.
That tells you that there's a lot of people that are creating clothing brands now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I started to see ads for in the beginning of all this, I started to see ads for skincare manufacturers because I was still kind of in the middle of all of it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like you go to these places, there's factories around the United States where you can go and you can create a skincare line. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that easy now to do it on your own. Um, which so if you have the following and you have that influence, essentially, that would be a really smart way to go. If you don't have that influence, like I don't have a following. I don't have a big social media presence. It's literally like trying to start this from scratch without you're almost behind the eight ball a little bit because I don't have the built-in base of people to sell to that I would if I had done that in this way. So,
So you did
um,
not build your business with social media when you were in your network marketing business?
I I didn't build it from a very it was almost like it was never I would say going pro. Like I never really
Mm-hmm.
did it from like a consistent standpoint. So like it wasn't like, okay, I need to grow my social media so I can grow this. It was just kind of there to supplement the sales work that we did. Um, so it never really took off in that way. And it's so funny that a lot of like I didn't leave the business at the same time that I had started this. I kind of was like doing this and then I was hoping to be able to kind of jump back into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the business closed down, which was interesting timing of all that was like a year after maybe like 3 or 4 months after I launched Sayor, the company I worked for
What
closed
a
down.
blessing that you took that step when you did.
It's more of God just telling me like this is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. It was definitely it made me really truly believe that I am in the right place doing what I'm doing now. So because if it would have happened the other way, if that would have closed down and I was kind of like, well, now what do I do? I don't know if I would have come up with. I don't know if I would have done it. I don't know if I would have had the guts to. Okay, now you have to do this. So how
Mm-hmm.
are you going to do it? And it would have felt like it was out of like fear and not because I really truly wanted to. So it would have been a whole different mindset
Mm-hmm.
in that situation.
You get these little God winks, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm really the fact that it was like it literally took me 48 hours to come up with a plan that I had been trying to figure out for 15 years was kind of the first one. I was like, okay, I really think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This feels really weird. Why is this so easy all of a sudden? So
No, there was no like catalyst moment in the beginning of that 48-hour period, like experience or.
I was laying by the pool texting my girlfriend who was in the business with me, like, I hate this. I don't remember why specifically. I'd finally allowed myself to say it out loud. This is what I don't like. I don't like that I can't do this. And I don't like that I can't do this. And she's like, well, what are you going to do if you don't do this anymore? And I was like, well, let me think about that, because we all know what I really want to do eventually. So let me stop myself and think. And I don't know if it's because I was laying by the pool and that's why it's a resort wear line. That could be why it is. It probably has something to do with it, because I was literally like, it was 80 degrees outside in February and I'm thinking about this with the birds chirping and the fountain in the pool. But it was like, what if I literally have a voicemail of like, what if I create something that is American made, but it's got the aesthetics of like, if you just got off of a beach in Bali, like that is not something that is created here. What if that's what I do? And she's like, that's a cool idea. And it just, and like in the moment, it was like, that's it. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to see if I can do it. Yeah. Yep.
Now, going into learning the process of finding manufacturers, how hard of a process was that for you?
Not hard.
Really?
It really wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Most of the manufacturers for this are going to be, the majority of them are in California. I'm in Texas, and I had no idea that I could even find some here, but I was able to find some here too. So for now, I'm actually able to still have everything made just in Texas locally, just because it was easier for me to get moving with, and I didn't have to worry about trying to get out there to see, to visit the places and to be able to do fittings and all. Like the development process was a lot easier being local. But I was really, really surprised when I saw that there were some here. There's some in Florida that I could probably go to. There was a lot more than I even thought existed. So just starting the search process of like, where are these places? What can I do and how can I do it was very eye-opening to me. It was easier than I expected it to be. The fabrics were a little bit more challenging. Some of the fabrics that I need for the line were still being imported. I'm slowly finding more. I think the more that demand goes up for locally made things, then it'll be easier for me to find, because a lot of the stuff I could find here was like the heavier canvases and like the workwear stuff, like the Carhartt kind of stuff. But like the flowy dresses that I make are not exactly, it's not fabric that is made here. So some of it was imported still, but I would say half of the fabric now is actually made. The fabric is even made here, which is, so I'm in a constant, like, let's see how we can continue to like keep things being made here a little bit more over and over and over again. And hopefully I'll be able to get to something. My dad was like, you need to just buy 1,000 acres of land in Texas, plant a bunch of cotton, put the manufacturer on the land, and then you never have to go anywhere. I'm like, well, that sounds like maybe I'll retire that way.
That sounds like a really big business operating line of credit. Was he supportive of you launching your own business when you told him?
Yeah, I told them maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I came up with the idea, just because sometimes I don't even trust myself with it. I'm like, there's a point when this is gonna feel, I get tired of it and then I'm gonna give up or something. So I waited until I knew like I could tell in my own head, I was like, this is actually gonna happen. And they've been supportive ever since, the whole time. And I feel like, I shouldn't say this. I know they're going to listen to this. Hi, Dad. Sorry. But the older that they get, like they get into this, like they're very sentimental about things now that they normally wouldn't have been in the past. Like the criticism would have been a little bit heavier, I think, if I was still in my 20s. But they're retired. They're running around all over the place. They're having fun. So like they just get so sentimental about things that they see coming out of me, I guess. It's really funny. Even the other day, I had sent them a clip of someone on another podcast talking about the brand, and he was like, "Oh, it just brought tears to my eyes." I'm like, "Okay, Dad, thanks."
That's so sweet, though. That's awesome. So
there was a point in college though when I'll never forget this. We were there for the orientation, and because we have a family business that's in manufacturing, he wanted me to go into engineering, which I thought about for a split second. Did not want to, but when we got to the list of all the girls that were entering the program, I was like number 2 out of like 500 on the list or something. And it was based on your GPA. So he looks at the list. He's like, "Do you see? You're too smart to be doing this. You don't need to be doing this. You need to be doing engineering." And I was just like, "I don't want to." So there was a little bit in the beginning of like, he didn't trust it. But I think once I got to New York and I was working for corporate, he had eased off on it a little bit.
Oh, I think it's so important to follow your path, and it's probably not going to be the same path as your parents. And
Yeah.
it might be, but it probably won't be.
Yeah, they, I did try to see if I was going to help with taking over the family business when he retired a few years ago. And for me to do it would have meant I had to move back to Michigan, and I just really
Mm.
don't want to do that. And I tried to figure out a way to do it here. And I think everything happens for a reason, right? So you go through the process of like thinking, this is it. I'm going to be able to take over. This is the business I can help with. It wasn't in my heart. And
Mm.
um, I know now, even my mom is always like, "I'm so glad you didn't do that. It was not for you, that you're doing exactly what you should be doing." So I think it's everything happens for a reason, right? And it is truly, truly where I should be is doing this.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you made that decision and you said in 48 hours you had a business plan, even after that, though, were there moments of imposter syndrome or limiting beliefs or self doubt?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot. I think the it's not a cheap thing to do. So I know like a lot of the sticker shock for me was a little scary to try to get this off the ground was very scary. Um, and going through the process of development was very eye-opening too. It's like I've worked in this industry for so long. I've never done swim. So that was new to me to really understand how construction and all that works. And just doing it on your own. I'm still in that place now. I don't think I've grown out of that yet because the design and the production and the development and all like the stuff before launch, that's stuff that I've all at least had experience doing and I really truly understood it. But now I'm left with this brand that I've created that nobody really knows about yet, that it's just kind of like, okay, let's figure out how we're going to do this now. I'm like a fish out of water.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels very overwhelming at times when it's like you have to be posting all this time. And is this the right stuff that I'm posting? And am I reaching out to the right people? Am I spending time on the right channels of
Mm-hmm.
should I be sending product to this person? Is this going to actually get so like the learning process right now is the learning curve is huge because I just don't have the I don't have the experience in this part. It's
Mm-hmm.
all new. But if people are doing it, then so can I. There's nothing that says I can't. I am the same as the person next to me.
Mm-hmm. What's the difference in how you feel fulfilled in the pursuit of figuring it out that's different from working in corporate or running your network marketing business?
I think when you go through the struggle and you feel that like I have no idea what I'm doing right now. Like, what is going on? When you figure it out, it's like a kid putting a puzzle together, right? There's that moment of, oh my gosh, I actually figured it out. I did that all on my own. And the you learn to clap for yourself a lot in those moments. And I think really remembering that I can celebrate the little wins and keep going instead of hiding in them. Sometimes I get a win that feels really big and feels really scary to me and I'm like, I'm not prepared for this yet. I don't think we can grow like this. What am I going to do? But you take a minute and you say, you did that. You did that on your own. Nobody else did that. You made the decisions that got you here. And that is why the wins happen. That is so good for being able to push through the moments when you don't know what's going on. It's like just remembering that that is just the way that it ebbs and flows. Even yesterday, I got overwhelmed again. I had done I'd done an event over the weekend and I met a lot of people. It was a lot of work for me to build a store for 2 days to sell clothes and then take it all down all by myself. And I met a lot of really cool people at it. I sold a lot of stuff and I feel like there's momentum from it. But then even yesterday, I was like overwhelmed by all the work that I still have to do because it's just part of the process is we made some progress. We celebrated it. Now you have to get back to work. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm still doing this by myself. So that imposter syndrome is something that I feel like it's just always there. You just learn to recognize it and acknowledge that it's there and just keep doing what you're doing. I don't want to say it turns you kind of into a robot of just ignoring that, but it kind of is how it feels to me. It's like you recognize the thoughts and then you just keep going.
What are some of the things that that personal development has helped you grow in as a person that has helped you be better at running your business?
Learning how to do it your way because you can listen to, and I've probably listened to all of them, to all the big people, to all the I mean, YouTube University is insane nowadays. There's so much stuff on there that you can just literally, you don't have to go to school. You can learn whatever you need to do on there. And I have spent probably the last 5 years of my life just watching stuff or listening to people. And at the end of the day, you just have to realize like there's 1,000 ways to do something, but your way is okay to do no matter what that is, especially when you're doing something that you've grown yourself. You can do it your way.
There really is. There's someone I used to listen to, or used to work with, would say there's a million ways to make $1 million. There's so many different ways, and you have to
Mhm.
at some point trust yourself enough to pick one and stick with it. I think that's one of the hardest things as an entrepreneur is to recognize that we tend to think that some of the success is outside of us instead of within us. Picking and staying consistent. I was wondering about the alcoholism or just kind of more of your story around what sparked more personal development for you.
Andy Frisella is a big influence, has been a big influence for me in the last few years. And I think for getting myself back into shape a few years ago, I don't actually think I mentioned this to you. I had gone into treatment around 10 years ago now for an eating disorder. And I was in therapy for a while. And when I was going through that, it's the way that it was done, looking back, was not correct for me because you go through this process and they're telling you this whole time, like, it's okay to not feel like it's okay to calm down. It's okay. You don't have to do it all. And when you're controlling what you are not eating is the way that you're controlling things. It's like this addictive thing. I didn't need people telling me that you don't have to do it. It's okay if you don't want to do it because it's almost like watering down your ambition in a way.
Mm.
And even like going through therapy, it just always felt like that. So for a few years, I was just, I don't want to say numbed out, but like it just didn't feel like me anymore. Like I was fine. Like the eating disorder wasn't a big deal, but like going through the process of people telling you, like, you don't have to do it all. What if I want to? What if I want to do more? What if I want to be obsessed about something? I needed somebody at the time to be like, this is addictive. This is obsessive. You are like this by nature. We just have to figure out how to channel it correctly. And I think the way that he operates is so interesting to me because he is obsessed. He's like, he's created these programs that are like no cheat programs where you have to go for 75 days and you cannot miss a day. And he's kind of validated the fact that you're allowed to work. If you want to work, do it. If you want to go hard at something, do it. And when somebody told me that was okay, I didn't feel like the drinking. I ended up drinking quite a bit, like wine every night, just because it's like people are telling me I don't have to do stuff. Okay, let's just quiet the noise then, because I really want to do stuff, but I'm not supposed to. So I'm just gonna numb it all out. So having somebody give me permission to be a crazy person was step one. And going through the process of like working out hard, and it helped me fix the need for alcohol because I was able to just do more stuff. So there were a few years of that where it's like you go through this and you try to you kind of fix how you see the world, and I felt like myself again. And you realize you can move the goalposts. Like, okay, I've done way more than I thought I could or was allowed to do at this point. What else can I do? What else can I do? How else can I build something? And that was kind of the process that got me to think, okay, I don't want to do this business anymore. I want to do what I've always wanted to do. How do I make it work? So it was actually in the middle of doing one of his programs that the idea popped into my head to start Sayor. So it's interesting that it was at the same time. But I think it's very related to just like there's people that want balance. There's people that want to have. I mean, I'm single. I don't have kids, which is fine. It's not like I never wanted it. But what if you don't? You don't have to. You don't have to do what these people are telling you to do just because you went through this treatment of that's just the way that it is. It's not. It's not.
We actually don't need permission from anyone else to do anything.
No, literally not. I think Hormozis are good at talking about this. Layla and Alex Hormozy, they're very good about saying like, just do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like, who cares? You want to work at 4 a.m. If you want to work at 11 o'clock at night, just do it. No one else, like, it's your life. So it's so good that I am like the whole hustle culture. Like, I just want to live it. And I feel like I've always been that way. And having people tell me that the work ethic I built when I was in college working retail for 20-hour shifts, I have always been this like crazy, like I like going hard at stuff. I like pushing the limits. I like the challenge. I like the competition aspect of things. So when somebody tells me not to, I'm going to drink it because I can't do anything else.
There was something that you had said a little bit ago that we're all going to die.
Yeah.
At some point. At some point, we're all going to stop breathing. And I want that day, when that day comes for me, I want that day, I want to have as little regrets as possible when that day comes. And pursuing something like what you're doing, you are versus not, how many people are not pursuing something like this because of fears and doubts and other people's opinions versus I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. Maybe I fail, maybe it doesn't work, or maybe I find something else that's even more fulfilling along the way.
Yeah, I think the biggest part of that is just saying, like, even if you don't pull the trigger on it, pretend that you're going to. Think about it like you're actually going to do it. Like, what do you want to do that's going to make you happy? Nobody else. Doesn't matter what you're doing right now or what somebody else says or what social media is doing, or like, turn off the noise, touch some grass, and see what you think you want to do. It doesn't mean you have to pull the trigger. It's kind of like how they say, if you're going to work out in the morning, set your clothes out and just get dressed, because that's the hardest part, is leaving the house, right? Just allow yourself to think about what it is that you think is missing or what you want to do, like the dream big aspect of it. Because for me, and to start Sayor that way, that's all I did. I allowed myself to think about it and to voice out loud what I wasn't happy with, what I wanted to do, and it let my brain kind of decompress and clear out so I could come up with the idea of what exactly it was. And it was so fast. It was just, there was no doubt in my mind at that point. I'm like, okay, this feels so different than anything I've ever come up with or thought about. I need to figure out how I can do it. And it just kept going from there, because when it's right, it's the right thing you're supposed to be doing, it's probably going to work out no matter how hard it feels.
How much though do you feel that that was there all along? It was, I've said this before, it's almost like what you're supposed to be doing is right under your nose. You're just not willing to acknowledge it.
Yeah, you're probably right. But that's the thing, like that you get stuck in your own head about it. And that's why you need to be able to allow yourself just to think about what you really truly want to do. It was always there. I just never allowed myself to think through the details, essentially. Like, I always wanted to have a clothing brand, but I never allowed myself to figure out even what that would be. I was designing knits, I was designing denim. I'm like, what would I even want to do? I don't even know what that is. So the thought of every single day of just in the back of my head, like, this is something I do want to do eventually. I'm going to get to it eventually.
Eventually.
That I'm like, nope, I'm getting too old for eventually. We're going to have to figure this out now. And if all these people I'm seeing on social media can do it, then guess what? You can do it too. We're going to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. I want to buy something. I haven't bought anything yet, but I love the look. I guess I'm not familiar with
Yeah.
Bali or Australian beach attire, but it's
Yeah.
so beautiful. Your clothing is so beautiful. I
Thank you.
live on a farm with horses, so I don't dress like that very often. I am actually wearing the Carhartts. But if I have a trip, I want to wear one of your outfits because they're so freaking pretty. But I think that we're in these boxes. And I know I felt the same way for so long that I didn't allow myself to dream. If I had no limits, what would I do? Instead of like, what can I do that fits in this world? What can I do that fits in with this story? I didn't allow myself to pivot without any parameters.
Yeah. Yeah. It still feels like that sometimes for me in a financial way of like, if I had more money, then what would I be spending it on to grow this faster? So when I'm trying to make investments and trying to figure out what the next thing is to do with putting the money back into the business, I'm like, I do find myself pulling back a little bit and saying, oh, maybe I don't want to spend that much on this, or maybe I don't want to do that just yet. But it's like, if I had $1,000,000 to just drop into this and then make it grow like that, how would I do it? And you can figure it out right away. Like, I'm like, I would do this and this and this and this and this with it. But it's like, okay, stop holding on to the money. You got to invest in the business. You're in your 40s. You don't have 30 years to grow this. You've got 20 max. So if you're going to get it to that point, you have a shorter timeline than most people do. So I have to learn to be better about taking the financial risks in the imposter syndrome way of like, oh no, I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm going to hold on my money and I'll figure it out another way, or I'll try to be scrappy, or if the money is there, Andrea, you've got to do it.
It's definitely a flow thing. The more that you allow it to flow, I don't want to say like out, like just blow your money, but in wise investments, the faster it will
Yeah.
flow back.
Right. But the thing is, like, if you're actually thinking about, like, in my head, I know what the process would be of like, I would hire this person. I would spend the money in marketing in this way, like all the little details. I already have that in my head, but I'm not doing it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now is like, okay, you're going to come up with a game plan of how to invest this money into the business so you can get from point A to point B a little bit quicker this year.
What would you say to maybe you 3 years ago, or the woman listening that is feeling like she's in a box? What would you want to say to her?
To trust your gut, because every time I do push the needle a little bit and I do the things a little bit faster that are holding me back, it always ends up being a learning situation. And even still now, I'm trying to tell myself that more often of like, okay, you just did this pop up over the weekend. You knew it was going to be work. You knew how to do it. You knew it was going to help push the business and give you momentum. And guess what? It did. So instead of being like, oh no, I'm going to wait and not reach out to these people or do this group, go meet with this group of people. Every time I do it, it always ends up being the right thing to do. So I'm trying to remember that I need to jump on those thoughts faster and let go of the fear that comes from putting myself out there. And it goes back to like, every time I do put myself out there, I'm falling back on my own brand. And I don't have the fear of validation for the brand. If it was something else I was selling for someone else and I'm trying to put myself out there for it, it doesn't feel the same because it's not in your heart. So leaning on your own heart when it comes to the situation of, I'm doing something that's scaring me, but just remember what you're doing it for and what that end game is. And that always snaps me out of it.
That's such good advice. What is one thing that you wish people knew better about you or the brand or both?
I feel like people are have a hard time telling me if something is good or bad, or like the feedback is hard for me to get because they're too afraid they're going to hurt my feelings. And yes, I love the brand and I might take things personally, but when it comes to building a business, like there's this switch that goes on in my head when somebody gives me constructive feedback of like, okay, I appreciate hearing it. I can now take that and I can use it to grow the brand. And it doesn't affect me personally the way that maybe it seems like it would. So I think that's probably the biggest thing when it comes to this is just having people allowing people to feel like it's okay to tell me what's going on and what is working and what's not working, because I want to be able to use that feedback to grow the brand to be for something better next time, the next round of clothes and the next drop I have and whatever else I'm saying or what's confusing about the way I'm marketing it. Like that stuff, I appreciate the bad feedback just as much as I appreciate the good.
Because you're so committed to the vision that you have for the long term of the brand.
Yes,
Mhm.
I can't make it better if I don't know what's not working. So
Mhm.
I have a really good ability right now to separate out any kind of personal hit that would happen if I get bad feedback. I've learned through this process to not take it personally and to be able to put that in a constructive way in the brand.
And do you
So I do hope that people can tell me the truth.
and do you feel that that is different than it was when you were, let's say, just running your network marketing business, receiving?
Yeah, probably. I feel like a lot of that was very personal to me, and that could also be why I didn't my heart wasn't in it the same way because I was just always worried about what other people thought. Um, there was no it's back to the ownership, right? You don't have ownership in it. It wasn't something that came out of my head and that I created. I was just there to something that I thought was really cool. So when it's something that you create, I don't maybe some people think that I would take it more personally because of it, but it's kind of the opposite where it's like I actually really just want to know the truth because I want the brand to turn into itself. There's a reason that I mean, growing up, my dad was always trying to come up with names for what I would do as my own clothing brand. And it was always like a nickname of mine or something, but I didn't want it to be me. I wanted it to be its own self. I wanted it to be able to live without me. I didn't want it to be an influencer type brand where it was my name and it had to have me with it. I wanted it to be its own thing. So maybe that's why it's easier for me to kind of separate it out and to know that that's the brand and that's what I'm growing. And it's not me necessarily, it's just an extension of me.
I really do think there's something to be said about the fact that it's your creation. There's some inner knowing that you had this idea and you decided to act on it. So anyone that doesn't believe in it, you believed in it from the start. Instead of borrowing belief about something else outside of us, if someone doubts that, it's harder to stay convicted than it is when you're in a room by yourself and you have this idea, you have this vision, and you believe in it before anyone else. Then you're almost, I don't know how to say it other than I'll be damned if anyone tells me this isn't possible because it's mine.
Yeah. Yeah. You've already done kind of the impossible and you created something from thin air.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can do that, then nobody else really truly understands what's going on in your head about it. And I think that's a good thing and a bad thing. Sometimes it's really hard for me to be like, oh, that this is what the brand is about because it is still a little confusing to people sometimes. And you are the only one that has that vision of how you want it to look down the line. And I feel like the ability to have people really truly understand that if they haven't gone through from creating something like this from nothing is very challenging, and it's definitely not something that I expected to be a problem, is getting people to really understand it. from that way.
You have to find the people that have done it.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. Where can people find Sayor? Where can people buy?
Oh my. Okay, so I'm usually on Instagram. The Instagram is sayor.us. The website is the same. It's sayor.us. It's not .com. I did .us because I wanted it to have that reminder of American made. Yeah, it's all on there. And I have a TikTok and a Facebook too, if that's the platform. So everything is sayor.us everywhere.
And what about you?
Me?
And what
I
about you?
Yeah, if you want more of the founder background, the story of and the ups and the downs of the brand, my personal page on Instagram, Genuinely Drea, is where I post more of that. I'm trying to keep the brand very travel-esque and very like ethereal and like aspirational, and this is where you're gonna wear it, and this is what you can pack with it. And all of the behind the scenes chaos is usually what I'll put on my own personal page.
That's the fun stuff. All of it's important. Well, thank you for spending your day with me and sharing your story. I'm excited to watch you continue to grow the brand. I know it's going to become something that people love as they find out about you. They just need to find out about you.
Thank you so much, Kindra. This was a lot of fun.
Andrea's story is a reminder that it's not about having it all figured out. It's about being brave enough to start. Whether you're in a season of pivot, planting seeds for something new, or stepping into a purpose that's been whispering to you for years, this episode is your invitation to believe in what's possible when you lead from within. If Andrea's journey lit a fire in you, be sure to check out her brand at sayor.us and follow her behind the scenes story at Genuinely Drea. I'll leave you with this. If you fully trusted yourself, what bold next step would you take this week? Until next time, let no one clip your wings.